Many of you have been asking us to make a trip here to Foretravel in Nacogdoches, and we've got a treat for you today. We're hanging out with Tile 4 here at Foretravel. Absolute honor to be here. Do you think you could show us around the factory tour and show us everything going on here?
Absolutely. We welcome you here and glad you're here. Looking forward to showing you guys what makes Foretravel a Foretravel.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see this build process, and then you've got some new 2025s we're gonna tour. We're gonna talk about the history of Foretravel and really share a lot of information. So this is a video definitely worth watching. Behind us is a beautiful Foretravel Presidential that's totally finished off, but where do these start?
We can go look at a chassis, and that's where we start from the ground up.
One of the most common questions folks ask me is, what is the difference between the Spartan K3 and the K4 chassis that Foretravel uses?
First thing you can see is the tubular construction. If you notice that there's no C channels, this is actually a 4-wall tube, and it's double walled in the middle of the coach where the rear bulkhead is joined onto the rear axle. You also have the support and construction underneath, so when this chassis comes in, this is straight off the truck, it comes in tabletop flat. And so we don't have to do anything to the chassis prior to building off of it into the outrigger for the floors in the basement area.
Yes, sir, and I'm looking forward to showing the folks all of the details at how all the coach comes together. But this drivetrain is going to come with the Cummins X15 installed, Allison 4000 transmission. But what else is special about the Spartan K4 chassis?
Sure, so the K4 for Foretravel, the way that we spec it is strictly a Rayco package. So the IFS unit, the drive axle, as well as the tag axle are all Rayco granting. And then we worked with Rayco granting and developed a patent pending user driver selection to alternate between sport and touring mode, and we call that performance choice. So that consists of 2 electronic valves and some ping tanks that either increase air volume for a softer feel or give you a more rigid feel if you're in that switchback territory when you're driving the coach.
So is this chassis proprietary to Foretravel, or is there anyone else using the Spartan K4 chassis?
There is no one else using the Spartan K4 chassis. So we work directly with Spartan to reduce the mount of the Cummins motor. So that's why when you come into our floor, you come up the 3 steps and you have a total flat floor from the front to the rear. So no step up over the motor cover.
Yeah, very nice feature. And this being tubular steel, is there any weight difference in this chassis versus the K3?
This chassis is going to weigh about approximately 1,800 pounds more than a K3 would because of the structure underneath and the tubular construction from the front to the rear.
Okay, so that heavier chassis will probably give you a more solid ride, I would assume.
Absolutely. You know, we feel like that is a good trade-off for the benefits that you get.
We've been noticing on a lot of the late model Foretravels these really cool American racing wheels popping up. But I'm curious, what is the steering on this coach? Does this tag axle steer at all?
Sure, absolutely. So it is a passive steer, so it trails with the coach as you're driving forward. It will turn opposite direction of the steer tires up to 17 degrees left to right, and then when you go into reverse it has locking pins that bring it back to a neutral position, as well as relieving the air pressure in the back so you're not competing for the same space between the axles. We use Coney shocks in the rear. On the front, as part of the performance choice system, we use custom tuned Bilsteins. We've done comparative testing and the Bilsteins outperform the Coneys on the front end with the testing that was done.
Taking a closer look at this chassis with all of the wiring exposed in its current state, I'm very impressed with how clean all of the wiring is. Is all of that done by Spartan, that comes that way from Spartan?
That does. So again, this chassis was just unloaded just a day or 2 ago, so we haven't touched it at all. But if you will notice, all the wiring is on the top side, all the hoses are on the bottom. So that way, if you ever have that potential leak, it's not going to drip over everything in the basement.
Diesel fuel carrying capacity, I'm noticing this huge diesel tank up front. What's the capacity?
So we run a 200-gallon fuel cell for the motor and generator, and then your aqua-hot will be tied into the same common tank.
Yeah, you can run that generator for a lot of hours with the 200-gallon diesel fuel tank, and there's only a few motorhome companies in the industry using a 200-gallon diesel fuel tank. I think a few of them have backed off in recent years, so a lot of value here. Well, it's really cool to see the robust structure of the chassis, but I'd like to see how it all comes together. Do you think you could show us the rest of the build process?
Absolutely, let's go take a look.
Rolling into your factory here, now we're seeing seeing the chassis start to come together. What stage in the process is this chassis in?
So this is in basically the second stage of the production cycle. We've attached our outriggers along with the skirts for the cargo area, and then also, if you notice the holes on the top side, every 6 inches, that's where a mechanical fastener will attach to the sidewall through the floor, holding everything together.
And talking about the sidewalls, I think right over here, looks like these might be some sidewalls that are coming together.
So these have come off of our welding jig, and the fabricators have finished welding them. So they are being prepped. They will be prepped to go to our lamination process in the next building.
We talked about the chassis being tubular steel. What type of structure is in these sidewalls?
Very good point. So this is all tubular steel construction for our sidewalls. Our roof, our floor, and our slide rooms are aluminum to keep that center of gravity lower, again coming back to the ride and handling. But we feel that the front wall, the firewall, your sidewalls are key critical points, and so we want that structure and integrity of the steel.
Yes, sir. Then we can notice kind of larger areas. I believe this is where the slide room will go.
Yes, so these are just filler sticks that will hold this opening during the lamination process. And if you notice, so directly behind you is actually a jig for our roof table. So you can see everything is clamped in place, so we don't have to worry about anything moving or warping, twisting during the fabrication process.
Yeah, I'm noticing a slight camber here on the roof. You talked about the chassis being flat. What is the reasoning for this roof having a slight camber to it?
So one, it adds integrity. Instead of just having a flat piece, you have that arch, which adds some internal integrity, but it's really for watershed. When we get it all laminated, you have a 3-inch crown from the center to the edge, and everything will overlap from the top down. So if you look at the edge, the sidewall will actually slide into the C-channel that we have made into the extrusion.
And those sidewalls will attach to the roof as well. Is that going to be every 6 inches?
That is approximately every 6 inches on the inside and the outside.
Very robust. When we see this, I'm seeing cross members here. You can really see that strength of that build. Coming back here to station number 2, I'm starting to notice some carpet on the vertical walls. Does that happen in this station?
Yes, so what they'll start doing now is mounting all the basement components, like your aqua hot, your inverters, your battery chargers, running all your cabling and your plumbing for the tanks, mounting the tanks while you have this open footprint now that the cargo areas are coming together. Once all that's completed, we'll mount the top floor, and then from there we'll move on to the false floor that I'll show you at the next stage.
I know you guys are doing some fancier wheels, but is this a wooden wheel? Is that a new option?
That's custom. That's custom. No, that is a liner that we have made in-house to protect the black wheels, keep from getting scratched during the production process.
I understand those are expensive wheels. You don't want anything rubbing up against those.
That's right. So here you can actually see the Performance Choice electronic valve mounted on top of the air spring that we discussed earlier. That is the patent pending process that gives the driver the ability to control sport or touring mode. And what's missing are the airlines, but this is the system that we worked with Rayco specifically for their IFS system. So that is specific to Foretravel, and like I said, we already have it trademarked and patent pending process.
Coming around to the front of the coach, I can see this is going to be where the generator is going to go, but I've never seen this before. All of this metal structure on the front end here, what is going on up front here?
So this is part of the firewall, so all this will be covered up by the front cap. So this is actually where your adjustable pedals will mount and your steering column. So this is just to ensure that you have, a very positive connection on those very critical points, so you don't have any flex or movement.
Coming around here, this looks like that same front piece we saw on the front of the motorhome, but it has a little different look to it than the finished piece did. What part of the process is this in?
Absolutely. So this is actually the raw state of it. So it's been fabricated, ground smooth on the weld, so everything bolts up nice and flat, but it's getting ready to go into our steel shot room, where it'll actually be sandblasted with metal shot. And then from there we'll apply special chassis paint in the booth behind me.
Very cool. That will help with the longevity.
Absolutely, it prevents it from rusting, protects it from the elements.
Coming into the next station, we're starting to see the coach come together here. What is going on in this station?
Yeah, so from where we stopped and where we picked up, we have now mounted the floor, and then we've gone in and built our false floor. So we have a 3-inch floating false floor where we add additional 3 inches of insulation with a secondary layer of plywood. And then through that top layer of plywood, there's no mechanical fastener that comes all the way down into the metal floor. So you get no transfer of that vibration or noise coming all the way through your floor surface.
That makes a lot of sense. So basically all of the house side of everything is going to be mounted down to the floor. That will absorb some of the vibrations coming from the road, and then that floor is also bolted down to the chassis as well?
That's correct. Not only is this vacuum bonded and insulated with 1.5 inch thermal foam, you have an additional 3 inches in this void here. And what that creates for us is now we have a plumbing run for electrical and house plumbing side, as well as we eliminate the motor cover by doing this as well. We have a chase midway in the coach to go from side to side.
And it looks like this is the LV2 floor plan, so this is the shower area, and I think you're going to show us in a moment how you build the showers very similar to residential construction. But what else is going on here in this stage?
Now that we have the floor completed, just like you would in a residential construction job with a concrete slab, you'd go in and lay out the floor plan. So that's been done here. Now all your floor to ceiling cabinets are being mounted. So not only are they attached to the floor directly, they will be also attached to the sidewall as well as to the roof. So that adds a lot of internal integrity, and you don't have to worry about any squeaking or rattling with those 3 attachment points. We also, will run the tile up to that point, not go on top of the tile with the floor to ceiling cabinets. In the voids on the sides, this is where we'll have plumbing and electrical chases, and then we can go across the coach from side to side.
That tile floor doesn't go in until all of the cabinets have already been installed?
That's correct. It'll be done in 2 or 3 stations ahead of this one, after more floor to ceilings are mounted and all the cabinets have been attached.
So if you do need to repair tiles or change flooring down the road, I bet that would make it a lot easier in the future.
It certainly does.
Yes,
it certainly does. And going back to our floor construction, it also allows us to have the flat floor that is not only flat when the room is extended, it's also flat when the room is retracted, so you have no step up to contend with while you're traveling.
Totally flat floors and no carpets in this coach?
No carpet anywhere in the coach other than a rug, if you choose to put one down. So.
Well, and you do line the basement walls, and the chassis frame all gets lined with carpet as well.
And the cabinets.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Oh yeah, inside of the cabinets as well. Yes, sir. But no carpets on the floors.
No.
So up here we see that 12.5 Cummins Onan generator. There's a lot going on with the wiring here, but you were sharing with me that you share the electrical schematics with the owner of the coach, and there's some labeling in these wires which will make it very easy to work on down the road.
We make all the house wiring harnesses in-house, and so with that we use a generic white and green, and then every 6 inches on the full length run of that wire you have a number that's fused into the insulation. And then that is cross-referenced back to the wiring schematic.
A lot of value in that. If someone does need to work on the electrical systems down the road, they'll really appreciate that.
You can see here, the wiring department is very in tune with keeping everything neat and orderly and routine, which is very important for the production environment. And because when you have to work on them as well, like we do in our service department, you don't want them in different locations every single time. So we're always very consistent on how we do everything. You can also see the spray foam that we add to the front area to further isolate road noise being transferred into the cockpit area while you're traveling. So this is completely underneath the whole driving area in the front.
Yes, sir, and it's cool to see this, how wide this staircase is. This is gonna all get finished out with tile, but this just shows a very wide entry getting in and out of the coach compared to other motorhomes.
Yeah, you can actually carry a tote sideways and not take the skin off your knuckles.
So this is cool to see. It looks like the slide room is coming together here, and I really am impressed with the way Foretravel rounds these edges here on the finished product. It just looks so nice. What is different about the Foretravel slide rooms?
Sure, so we make this in-house and we join that up with the HWH hydraulic mechanism. What we do is we basically build a 5-piece kit with your 2 end walls, your ceiling, your floor, and the exterior wall, put them all together using an extrusion that we've developed. So these have all been vacuum bonded and laminated from our lamination department, and then they're in the process of assembling the room. By the time a room is mounted in the coach from start to finish, you're probably looking close to 50 hours, you know, in installing and fabricating this room.
So will all the furniture get installed in the room before it goes into the coach?
No, the furniture is installed after the room gets mounted.
I've just got to point out, you guys are not skimping on the puck lighting at all. 2, 4, 6, 8, either 10 or 12 puck lights in this small area of the slide room. This is going to be a bright coach.
Yes, yeah. And you can also see we have a 3/4 of an inch false ceiling here. So that allows us to recess that puck into there and also have a wire run across the top of the room.
So at what point will this slide room get installed into the coach?
Okay, so I can show you on the coach behind us here.
So the side walls are on the coach now, and then we see this area where the slide room is going to go in. It's got these temporary posts here, but what happens in this area?
Sure, so we've now attached the sidewalls, we've attached the roof. Again, everything is coming from the top down, so everything is overlapping. Our sidewalls have slid into the channel of the roof extrusion. Every 6 inches on the bottom, you have that mechanical fastener with 8,000 pounds of tensile strength per fastener. Tomorrow, these temporary supports will be removed. They will install an aluminum extrusion on the back side of this that will eventually become the housing for the pneumatic seal to live in going around the perimeter of the room. At the next stage, I can show you that process, but that bladder will actually pull away from the room, allow the room to move, and then reinflate to 14 PSI all the way around the perimeter, and we allowed 3/8 to a ½ inch around that perimeter opening.
Yeah, and with that pneumatic seal, it makes such a big difference of maintaining the temperature inside the coach and then keeping noise out. Really a big difference over coaches without those pneumatic air seals in the slide rooms. And has Foretravel always used those pneumatic air seals?
We have. When we introduced slide outs, we were probably a little late in the game as we didn't introduce it until 98, 99 time frame. But since then, the process has not really changed, the concept. The mechanisms have, obviously, with the evolution of slide outs and different things, but the pneumatic seal has stayed the same. So now that we have finished the testing of the hydraulic system at this stage and ensures we don't have any leaks or anything, they're ready to start the install of the room. So that's what will happen tomorrow. So talking about our slide outs, this flange right here will actually butt up against the inside of the fiberglass. And then your slide out bladder, I'm gonna rotate it, will be attached on the bottom side, and then it has 2 lock strips in the side that keep it from pulling away from the extrusion. So the bladder only goes down when it pulls a vacuum to allow the room to move. And so this will fully collapse, allow the room to move, and then reinflate again to that 14 PSI to give you that full pneumatic seal around the perimeter opening to protect you from wind, rain, dust, you know, noises.
And looking at that, I could see that holding up over a long period of time. I was worried about it getting pinched in the slide room, but very good design.
Yes, yeah, we've worked with the extruder on the design, you know, over the years, and this by far has been our best bladder system.
Yes, sir. And how long have you been using this bladder system?
Since 1998.
Very cool.
Yeah. And then behind you here is the energy chain. So this is where how we introduce plumbing and electrical into the kitchen. As there's so much coming in and out of that room, we don't want to kink the lines with that movement. And so it only allows it to flex so far. It does consume some space underneath the kitchen, but we feel that that's a necessary trade-off.
Yes, sir. Just so neat and clean. I'm really impressed with the way all of this is put together. Very organized, very neat. Coming down the side of the coach, again, very clean plumbing in the manifold system here. And we see the tanks back here. What are the holding tank sizes in this coach?
Yeah, so for the freshwater, you have 123 gallons, and then we run a combined gray and black holding tank with 160 gallon capacity. And then with that, we actually worked with RVIA to make it approved with their building process where we can implement a gray water bypass. So then if the customer is hooked up to an external source, they can open the gray water bypass. If they're taking a shower or washing clothes, all that water is going to bypass the tank and go directly into the sewer.
So if you're using that gray water bypass, you essentially have a 160-gallon black tank.
That's it. And then also with that, we implemented a product called UV Light that eliminates the need for chemical. So it creates ozone within the holding tank to kill the bacteria. So you have no need for chemicals.
Hey, one less thing to worry about. I like that. Now coming around to the rear of the coach, does the rear cap mount to the steel sidewalls?
It certainly does.
And this looks nothing like the finished rear cap here, so I know there's a lot of work to still be done back here. But in the engine bay, is there anything that Foretravel adds to the engine bay to spruce it up at all?
Sure, so we will add your FogMaker fire suppression system. So this has tubes that run above the engine that then have certain nozzles at key areas. If those tubes reach a 450-degree temperature, the tube will rupture and then, expelling the product inside of here to kill all the oxygen to eliminate the fire, which I think you may know something about.
Yeah, I can really appreciate that option. Very valuable. So yes, sir.
We do have a quick connect air chuck tied to the engine directly coming off the compressor. Then we have a secondary one in the generator compartment. So then you can have compressed air coming from the engine if you need it in a car tire or want to blow something off, you can.
So if your tires are a little low, can you use this to pump up the coach tires?
Absolutely, tied straight to the engine, so you can get about 140 PSI coming out of here.
Very nice feature to have when you need air.
Another nice feature, and this is coming back to how we have the K4, but everything is remote mounted, so you don't have to crawl underneath the motor to access everything. You have your access panel here for your fuel filters, your air dryers, your engine block heater, the electric side. Of course, you have the aqua hot that's tied in with the engine loop, so that's just a redundant system.
And this is cool to see all of the equipment coming in here. Got the aqua hot, the plumbing bay coming together. What all is going on in this area of the coach?
Yeah, so here we have the backside of your holding tanks, and then within here you have your access door for your sewer hose, so it'll drop through here. You also have your backup for your electric valves. So the screen here in the plumbing bay, you can electrically dump your valves. You can also dump them from inside the coach. But because they're tied to that network, we always want a backup. So we consider 2 as 1, 1 as none. And so within the backside of this compartment is not only your access for your sewer hose and your sewer drop, is you have your backup switches for your electric valves. Coming forward, you can see the same thing for your aqua hot, and then you have inverter control as well on the backside.
Yeah, and I like that saying, 2 is 1, 1 is none. I like that. And on that note, I've got to point out, as we walk through the building here, there's some cool banners with cool sayings that really show the sense of pride of workmanship amongst you and your team here at Foretravel. A lot of cool little sayings like that that really show that you're taking pride in your work.
Absolutely. So. You gotta support the employees just as much as they support you, for sure.
Yes, sir. Right here, guys, we don't have to walk far to find a cool sign all over the building here. This is cool to see all coming together. What is going on here?
Probably one of the more complex structures in a motorhome build would be the roof, in my opinion, because if you move one thing 1 inch, it affects everything in the roof. Here we have the roof upside down. So you recognize the crown if you see the edge, that we looked at earlier, where you can see the arch. Then that comes into the aluminum extrusion that will later, your sidewall will set in this channel, in the C channel, and you'll have your attachment on the inside and the out. From this 3/4 inch offset, we build out to 3.5 in the center. But what's happening is they build that void. Within that void, we run our AC ducting. So from the front all the way to the rear, you have 3 AC units that are commonly connected, just like a house plenum, if you will. And the ducts inside the coach, you can close or move. That's going to manipulate that air to whatever room you want it to if you have somebody that's sensitive to the compressor cycling. We also offset our roof ACs and returns to further reduce that noise and that decibel level of you would hear from that compressor. We also run all of the 12-volt lighting, network cables, communication cables. So again, this is where that numbering system that we've implemented over the years comes in handy.
Yes, sir, and extremely clean. There's a lot of wiring going on, so you know, to keep it all neat and organized. I really respect that. Everything is color coded, labeled. With the slight curve of the ceiling, the water's gonna run right off. Now, I don't see external drains with water dripping down the sides of Foretravels. How are they able to drain that AC condensation without it dripping all over the sides of the coach?
Sure, so what we actually do is we use a low profile unit that actually has condensation pumps made in it. And so we run external tubing on top of the roof. They're just behind the awnings, so you don't see them, and then we turn them down through the cap. So if you look at our coach, usually it's the passenger rear corner is where that's going to discharge, but each one is run individually. So if you happen to have one that's clogged up, the other two are still going to drain. But we choose to do them outside versus internally. Anytime you can keep water out of a coach, it's the best idea.
So. Absolutely, yes sir. So now it looks like we have a motorhome coming together. This is really buttoning up nicely. What stage are we at here?
So here we are at the beginning of the interior trim out. So now that we have the windows mounted, and the floor to ceiling cabinets and the slide rooms mounted, they can go in and start measuring for like the window boxes and the valances, because each one is made specific for that particular unit. We've mounted all of our cargo doors and louvers. We've got the rear cap now mounted. We have your notch for your Delta Mobile blind spot monitoring, which tells me this is a presidential because that's one of the presidential key features. So there's 3 sensors on each side. Here you can see the reveal for the slide room. You know, you don't have that flange. It's totally flush with the sidewall with it retracted. So once it's painted, this goes away altogether. You know, part of our paint process, we paint, you know, not only the edges, but the bottoms. All the graphics will actually carry all the way through, even on the bottom side of the room.
Yes, we're talking about your paint graphics. I've got to thank you for doing away with the swoops and swirls. I think a lot of people out there have been really looking for a change in the paint designs, and Foretravel has been cutting edge with these newer designs you guys have been coming out with. And talking about newer features, there's something new that I have not seen on the Foretravels in the past that I get excited about. A nice window that opens up in the salon.
Yes, and so these are new for the 25-year model. What's nice about it is it has an exterior flange of approximately 2.5 inches around the opening, so I really get a good bonding surface on there. That is why they're actually bonded in place prior to paint, because I don't want to mount them to a painted surface. I want that mechanical bond to raw fiberglass. What's nice about it is the screen travels with the window, or you can totally retract the screen magnetically. We also implemented a new driver's window that's motorized with a much larger opening.
Yeah, really nice. At a toll or pulling up to a campground and having to talk to the guy on the golf cart that takes you to your site. Or if you got to yell at your spouse out your window while you're trying to back the RV in, that can come in handy. Windshield is installed, really coming together here.
It is, and so here we're starting to mount the exterior cameras. So we're making sure that we're in the center line of the windshield for your 360 drone view that will be displayed, you know, at the dash while you're traveling. This is where we start the shower prep. They have the rooms in here, so we'll check that out on the next coach, and we can go see what it looks like.
Yeah, and real quick, while we're looking at the front of this coach, I know collision mitigation is an option I've seen in some of the presidentials. Is that a standard option?
It's standard on both the Realm and the presidential. They're just mounted in different locations on the front cap.
Yeah, those of us that have gotten used to that feature in the automotive world, really a nice feature to have.
And then, you know, the presidential also has haptic lane warning departure. It has blind spot monitoring with icons in the mirrors that will be illuminated.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed that. I was test driving a 24 presidential recently, and there was a car in my blind spot that I didn't see. I was gonna make a turn. The seat vibrated at me, let me know, hey, double check what you're doing, look at that camera a little bit better. After looking closer at the camera, I was able to see a vehicle there, so I think that might have saved me from doing a lot of damage to a nice coach. So.
Well, my service department's gonna be mad at you.
Yes, sir, yes, sir. So the interior is starting to come together with the slide rooms installed now. Some of the furniture and bulkhead walls are installed. Where are we at exactly?
Yeah, so we're in our tile department, so they will start the tile first thing tomorrow morning on the floor, and then from there they will go to the showers and the backsplashes and lavatories. And so it will spend 7 working days in this department.
Workmanship of your team in the tile department, the finished product just really shows. I'm very impressed by your team here.
Well, I appreciate that. They're artists.
Well, yes, sir, and the design too. All of the different tiles, like I've noticed, a lot of the showers will have 3 different tile designs that really blend together. What is the inspiration for interior design, or do you have an in-house interior design team?
So not in-house, but I have a local licensed interior designer that I contract with. I work with her basically to develop new color packages. And speaking of which, this is actually one that is starting to come together. It's called Aristocracy. So obviously we're going to have 2-tone cabinets, and then the floor's got a really cool design that I think is going to be really over the top once it's completed. So I'm excited for this one to come together.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing these newer 25s, but I've got to point out, if you look closely at the cabinets here, there's a very cool pattern, a slight pattern in design that's different than anything we've seen in a matte finish, and then the 2-tone with a matte finish down here.
I tell you, one of the real cool features are the countertops. Of course, we have them covered up right now, but if you can see, it actually has metal stainless steel flakes embedded into the top.
Real metallic countertop there. And then it looks like the toilet's not been installed yet. Does that stuff get installed after the tile?
Yes, all that will be installed post tile. You know, so everything sits on top just like it would at a residence. So here we're at the shower, which we saw one before we started earlier. This is no different than what you would see in a common, construction site for a residential. We've installed backer board, a waterproofing membrane, and then from there we have a urethane cover that wraps up on the corners of the sidewall, and so they will tile over all of this.
Yeah, and a huge shower with a bench seat there.
And the second toilet is private within the rear bathroom, which is really cool about the LV2 floor plan.
Yes, sir, really nice to have that second door. And then you can see the emergency egress door is open there behind your head. This looks like a realm here in the tile department as well.
That is correct. So it just finished the tile area, and now they're coming in. They will start mounting the furniture now that the tile work has been completed, prior to it going to one of the inspection processes and then going to paint. There's something else unique in here that you'll see that is fairly new for the 25-year model realm.
Yeah, let's take a look inside here. And I just have to compliment this tile work in the entryway here. It's just stunning. Very cool pattern. I can tell this is a realm and not a presidential because it doesn't have that infinity lighting. But you mentioned there's a few other differences between the realm and the presidential?
That's right. Some of the integration as well as some of the safety features on the exterior. But on the inside, this is new for 25, is we're offering a laminate finish that we're calling stone as a option for the realm. So up until now, the laminate has never been an option for the realm.
Yeah, this is a really good looking laminate. Like a matte feel to it. I don't even know how to explain that. You were mentioning with the different cabinets, this realm is going to have a little different style of cabinet doors than we saw in the presidential?
Yeah, it's more of a panel frame versus the presidential has a more European look. So it has all the flush lines and the doors overlap the frame so you don't see the frames.
Yeah, it's just more time and cost go into that.
Absolutely.
And, really nice to give your clients the different options at what's important to them. I'm seeing a full bath floor plan in the realm, so you can get this floor plan in the realm or the presidential. And this also has that power lift on the bunk here that we saw in the presidential. Big upgrade for 2025. But in this part of the production process, what else is happening right now?
So they will start mounting the furniture prior to it going to paint. They may install the window boxes and the shades and start making all those connections if they've been covered now. Because again, we custom make them for each respective window for each coach. So that has to go back to my upholstery department and then come back down. And
then the tile work here, we can see some of the finished tile in this bathroom. And again, just so many different textures. I'm seeing the floor and the walls. There's 3 different styles of tile. And then over here, We've got a different backsplash, a different texture on this one. I think this might need to get cleaned up a little bit. And then another texture behind the toilet. So many different finishes that all blend together so nicely. And then a whole different style. I don't think I've seen this style of tile work in the rear shower. Just beautiful tile work. And this is the full tub. TV's not mounted up there yet, but this is gonna be a nice coach. I really like this color combo. Do you know what the exterior color combo is gonna be on this coach?
This one is going to be what is called Chivalry, so it's blue and white. Same colors as what's on the one that we did earlier.
The Presidential?
Yes, but different design.
Very cool. And do you know where this coach is gonna be available?
This particular coach is slated to go to Blue Compass, Orlando.
Yeah, really well spec'd design on this coach. Awesome opportunity for someone if they're looking for 25 Rome.
Absolutely.
What's going on here, sir?
So we're in our paint facility where we bring in the coach. After prepping the entire exterior, we'll mask off anything that obviously we don't want paint on, and then we'll start laying out the design. And you know, from this stage right here, it will be about a 3-week process to the end cycle of the paint design.
Yeah, and I'm noticing the awnings are not on the coach right here. And you mentioned that the Presidentials, you bring the paint design into those awnings as well?
That's correct. So we do that at a later date, but so when we first lay out the design, we put the design on the coach and then we match that design to go through the awnings, to carry it through the awnings as well as the awning toppers. Nice. So for the outline color is the first color that will be applied to the coach, and then we apply the next color and cover that up, and the next color and cover that up. At the end of the day, there's approximately 7 coats of clear between the buffing processes and reapplication, and that's why you can go up to the coach and not feel any of the lines.
Your paint department is just knocking it out of the park. Not only the quality of the designs, but when we touch and feel these coaches, you can really feel that paint quality.
So we take a lot of pride in our exterior paint, you know, and I mean, to point out, you know, when you have a graphic that comes through the slide room, it will actually turn and we'll carry that graphic on the bottom, on the ends, so that that whole design carries through the slide room.
Not cutting any corners around here.
No, sir.
And I come from the detail world. I've polished a lot of Foretravels. I can tell you firsthand, this is a higher level of paint than you're gonna see on a lot of the other RVs out there. It looks like we've got some paint on this Presidential, and it's rolling right along. Now the bays are looking more finished out. Where are we at in the process?
Yeah, so we're just coming out of the paint process. So now all my exterior hardware, the buttons, the door latches, the running lights, everything that is, you know, over the paint can now be installed. So we're finishing out the bays as well. We're also at the same time, you know, going through our systems checks, our full coach check. You know, we have QC inspectors that hit the coach every single day, but we set designated time periods to do pressure check. You know, we'll get this coach out on the road, drive it for 200, 250 miles, and come it back and make any adjustments. As quiet as our coaches have gotten, every sound is amplified, so you really have to pay close attention to it and make sure you have a good ear for that.
Yes, sir. I know the owners of these coaches have the highest level of standards. I was just peeking on the interior of this coach, and this was a different design, a very classy design. Do you think we could take a peek inside of this
Absolutely.
coach?
Let's take a peek.
Yeah, you described this almost like a King Ranch vibe to it.
Yeah, you know, it has that very classic, elegant feel, which, you know, is what I think about when I'm looking at a magazine that's from the King Ranch or something like that. You know, I kind of picture something like this.
Yes, sir. Yeah, so they've got the sofas covered up in here right now, but this is really coming together and very classy styling.
Yes, very much so. You know, it has a wood grain laminate that is actually imported from Italy that we get from California. It is very, very realistic. Almost looks like a veneer.
Sounds expensive.
It's not cheap.
And what floor plan is this?
This is going to be a luxury villa master suite. So for the ladies that really like to, you know, spend some time doing their makeup or vanity, this is the floor plan for them. You have this huge bedroom when you come in. Next to the bed, you have a vanity area with an illuminated mirror. on the side.
And if you're trying to convince your wife to buy a motorhome, this may help push her over the edge. If that bathtub suite doesn't do it, or this makeup mirror doesn't, I don't know what will.
That's right.
So this coach is getting close to the finish line, and we really appreciate you showing us around the factory, but I think we've got a 2025 that's completely finished. You think we can get a full tour of that coach?
Absolutely.
Awesome. I think we're gonna have to make a separate video for that 2025 Presidential. You'll definitely want to check that coach out. We'll make sure to leave a link to that video in the description below as soon as it is out. So Tyler, I can't thank you enough for showing us around your factory. Now, if someone wants to purchase a Foretravel, who can they get a hold of?
Certainly. So from my website at Foretravel.com, I actually have a tab that says dealer inventory, and from there it is a direct link to Blue Compass and or Motorhome Specialist, and so it will take you directly to their website, and it has their current inventory with the contact information. Other than that, they're more than welcome to call the factory and get in touch with people here as well.
Yes, there are some incredible coaches out there in inventory and coming through your production line right now. So thanks again to you and the team at Foretravel. My pleasure. We also appreciate all of you subscribing to the channel. We hope you're all having a great day. Thanks again.
Appreciate your time. Have a good day.